Okay, hey everybody. So I'm not normally a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer or anything like that, but I played my first Resident Evil game, this one, Resident Evil 2, and I just fell in love with the way the level is designed, the way the the way the museum or police station works. Really interesting level design, really fun to play despite the fact that the game's super creepy. And I thought I would try and do a little bit of analysis on that because I couldn't find anything online that quite matched what I wanted to hear about myself and unpick about how it was designed. So I thought I would share some thoughts. I am not a level designer, I am a UX UI designer by trade, but I thought just stopping to analyse how the game works might be helpful for someone else. So let's get started. Okay, so this is a late save for anyone following along. There may be some spoilers, so just a warning there. I'll keep it to a minimum if I can. So this is the first part of the game that you'll come into. It's the main hall, and straight off the bat we can see a grandiose space. The aesthetics here are super white and bright, and I feel a lot safer than I did outside in the street with these zombies. You can hear them crashing behind me. The first time you play this, there is also, I think, sound coming from here, which is kind of ominous, and a sign that said keep out, so you kind of don't want to go in there. It's the area that feels creepy. The gameplay has already just taught us from the outside, when we're running around in the streets, that if I can kind of dodge zombies a little bit easier in a wide open space, but if I get close to them, I'm in a lot of danger. So that makes this feel like a safe space as well, because not only is there room to dodge around a zombie, I also have this low cover, which is super interesting in this game, and I'll talk to it a bit later as well, where I can see a zombie, I can shoot at a zombie, but they can't get to me quickly. And with a big pivotal area like this, and same with these stairs, they circle up and around, I can actually navigate around something while still keeping an eye on where it is and feel in control, which is kind of really makes this whole area feel a lot safer. There's also a save point here, so any of my progress isn't lost. Again, adding to that feeling of relief when I reach this room. If we look at the actual map here, the main hall acts as a bit of a hub and spoke for the rest of the game. So I'll often return to the main hall. You'll go in, do a bit of adventuring around in these corridors, get a bit lost and confused, and then pop back out into the main hall, which is fantastic because not only does it look aesthetically different to the rest of the game, I'm getting a point where I can rest. I can have a bit of respite from all the tension. So I go into these tense areas and I come back. You kind of really want that in a survival game or any sort of horror game where the tension is not always at 100%. We need it to ebb up and down, and this design works really quite well for that. I go into tense areas and I return to safe areas. Quite cool. In looking into this map, one of the things I did was quickly go and have a look at the Resident Evil 1 map. Now, I've not played Resident Evil 1, but what's interesting is the mansion in that game also has sort of a main hall and these quite winding corridors out in other areas where you return to this center point, which is just an interesting observation. The other thing I'll point out about both Resident Evil 1 and 2, looking at the maps, is we have these external windows, which I'll show in a minute, but help with navigation. Knowing where the outside border is of the map gives me an orientation as I walk through it. Okay, so one of the earlier areas you go into in the game is this corridor. There's a stark contrast between the main hall. There's no light, there's no room. I know from previous gameplay that if a zombie was in here with me, they can grab me a lot easier. Flashlight makes it nice and creepy. It's clearly with the water, there's something wrong in this area. It just changes the whole vibe quite well. Very clever. If we also look at the map design, I'm now weaving through a little bit of a maze. I have not much to orientate myself. Yeah, and then periodically what they do is they'll give us these open rooms again, like this. Zombie hanging around here. Maybe he can help us demonstrate something. Is he going to come? So when I'm out in those corridors, he'd be very, very dangerous. But in a room like this, I have this room. I can get around him again. So it's sort of gives us that opportunity to feel a little bit safer when in contrast to these corridors, which are ridiculously creepy. Yeah, so just for demonstration, you can see like, I can get around him fairly easily in this space. Not sure if I can lead him out into the corridor. We'll see. No, looks like he doesn't like that game. Okay, but yes. The other interesting thing when I first played this section, and worth pointing out on the map, is it feels like a normal building. We have these nice useful signs that tell me where things are, but we're often blocked off. If we look at that, it's kind of cool because it helps the game feel like a real world building, but helps maze me through places and not allow me to go to the areas that I want to go to, for example, the top floor, very easily. It makes it feel like real architecture, but blocks off the progress into a maze. I'll also point out, if we go into this room, the same thing as in the main hall, we have a center point, sort of low cover, which means that I can play cat and mouse with a zombie around this thing. Still, the lights are off in here and it's really creepy, but I can still get around a zombie. If he and I are chasing each other around this table, I can escape fairly easily without using any ammo, so it provides that safety. Interesting mechanic there. Okay, moving into the west corridor. This is one of the first areas you second areas maybe, I think you come into. What's interesting about these corridors is they all look the same, right? They've all got these kind of blue walls, similar shape. They're all using this blocked off method of stopping me from going where I want to go. But what we have now are these windows on the outside edge. And I want to draw attention to that, like I was saying from the map, because it helps me know where I'm going. It helps orientate me to the rest of the world. And this is interesting. If you go look up Walt Disney's design for the theme parks, particularly Disneyland, when he started, he called it weenies, as in like a sausage. Like you get a sausage a weenie, and you can make the dog, a dog, follow you around by just showing them that. And so his design theory for the park was that if he had a weenie, something large and in the middle of the map that people could orientate themselves off, it also draw them into the park from the outside edges, which actually works pretty well. Also interesting, if you play games like Half-Life, you'll see that the big Citadel, Half-Life 2, the Citadel is always there, ready to orientate you. And they did the same thing with Half-Life Alyx. If you look at that, there's like something in the middle of the map to draw you towards and to give you a sense of where I am in the world so that you don't get turned around too quickly. In a game like Resident Evil, there'll be times where we want to turn a player around. We want them to feel lost. We want them to get chased by something and to be scared and to not know where they are. And to show you that in practice, I'll see if I can give us an example. Yeah, I got a guy here. To show you that in practice, so I'm in this room, I'm in this corridor, we've got these outside windows which help me orientate myself, so I know I'm pretty much moving in a clockwise direction. I go into a room, I can't do that because it's locked down. Try it up here. Again, clockwise direction. I know that windows are on my left. When I burst into a room like this, I can get turned around pretty easily. I'm playing with some items, I'm trying to search something, I go into a second room, I come back out into this room. Where am I? You can see how I could get turned around quite easily. If I look out here, suddenly here's a window, and I know that when I was traversing these corridors, the windows were on my left. So that helps with that orientation. One of the things they're doing in this game, which is quite interesting, is we have this outside corridor, helps navigate me around, then we're often blocked off by these things and forced into internal rooms. And these internal rooms are where we play with the navigation, play with getting me a bit more confused. There's a bit more, particularly on the second floor, different options in these rooms. In this case, there's a one-way direction. So through here, the first time you play this, it can be quite intimidating because I cannot return to where I came from. Everything ahead of me is unknown, so that makes me feel less safe. To point something out in this room, which is kind of clever, the map has now changed. I'm no longer walking around the outside with the windows to orientate myself. I'm actually in the middle part. There's no windows, there's nothing to get a sense of where I am in the world. and I reach like this four-way fork in the road. I got a door, I got a direction, I got a direction, I got a room, and this can be quite tricky if I've, say for example, I've come over here to inspect something and now I turn around. Which way was it that I came? I have kind of corridors and options, and so this is an interesting way to disorientate me too, particularly seen if you look at this, it's not directly square, there's no T-junction shape, there's no, it's a little bit, it's not a four-directional, like perfect cross, if you will. So it's actually quite easy, I think this door's locked, but if I come into this one, show you, come out here, it's actually quite easy to lose track of. I can't look back down the way I came. There's kind of two options, left and right here. It's quite clever, it helps me feel a little bit more lost. The other thing I'll kind of point out here while I'm at it is we use signage quite a lot in this. This is great diegetic design because we have safety deposit room, we have west office, we have stairs. I actually think it would be plausible to probably play this game without a map. It would be harder to learn. You'd probably get lost a lot more easily and you wouldn't be able to navigate around like when you pick up items and where you wanted to return to them. But the diegetic like design of this, for anyone new, diegetic means it's in the world. It like in this case Claire, the character, can see what I can see, whereas she can't see that ammo count on the bottom right hand corner. That's for me, that's non-diegetic UI, whereas this is diegetic UI. So what's interesting is, yeah, you could probably navigate this, although when you're in a panic and it's all dark and you've got a flashlight and there's zombies around, it's very easy to miss those sort of options. Yeah, that's worth pointing out. Okay, worth pointing out here while we're at it, we have a lot of these short areas, there's not a lot of like range. That's quite a long range. Zoe has a gun, alright, not Zoe, that's from Left 4 Dead. Claire has a gun. Range attacks are good, zombies can't get me from a distance. It's interesting that they then put in a scene like this, and now this is just tension building. There's a zombie there, and I know I'm moving towards him, it's just aesthetically interesting. I could waste my ammo on him. It's just a nice tension builder. Another thing while we're here, I'm about to show you something else upstairs, but all on this bottom floor you can hear it as I walk. I'm on concrete. Thunk, thunk, thunk. The sound effects tell me I'm on the first floor. I'm going to cut to the second floor where you'll hear that difference. You can hear it. I'm now on the second floor, and this aids in navigation. At any point I can come out of a room and get a sense quite quickly whether I'm on the second floor or the ground floor, which is quite helpful. I think they call it ground. Sorry, that's a very British term for any Americans out there. First floor, second floor, yeah. You can hear it. The other interesting thing is we still have these windows on the right hand side to help me aid in navigation. So in this case I'm moving probably towards the main hall because I have them on my right. As you can see on the map, there are no windows on the back side, so that's kind of interesting. I know that I'm at the front of the police station, and if they're on my left, I'm moving away from the hall, and on the right, I'm moving towards the hall, although that will change when I reach this side, the east side of the map. Typical horror stuff, you know, blood and gore. Intended to concern me. Something ominous is going to happen here. Something worth pointing out game mechanically, we have these locked doors and they use a shape, and I have to find the key with the same shape. I think it'll even show me it if I've already unlocked it. What's interesting in the way Resident Evil has designed it, particularly this game, I don't know about the others, is that often the locked door here, the key will be on the other side of the map. So I will find the locked door, I'll need to traverse the map to go pick up the key, and then I can use my memory and feel really, really clever for being able to navigate back and use that key to go get something different. Although you can imagine in a game like this, stressful zombies, mazy corridors, it would be quite easy to get lost and concerned and frustrated because I have to go all the way back to that little room. But one of the things they've done is, if you can see here, it's a one-way lock. This is already open, but when I first played, you couldn't come from the other side. This is the only way you could exit. And so once that's open, I now have a shortcut return to that lock, so I do not need to go through the entire navigation process of downstairs in order to, you know, all the way through all these corridors and then up another floor in order to just get back to this room. I can actually take a shortcut. Quite a clever design, because it means that, yeah, the backtracking is not quite as frustrating as it would be. Another fun thing with these locked doors, one-way doors, is it's most likely you've been on the other side of it already. And so when you finally open this and you come through it, you go, oh, that's that area I was. Oh, that's cool. And you get that feeling of satisfaction from remembering and learning the map. And I think that that's worth touching on, because that's the thing I think this game does really, really well, is that the map is actually learnable. I can feel self-satisfaction, and one of the mechanics of learning the game is learning the map and feeling positive about the experience I'm having in doing that. Right, and here's that game loop I talked about before. I have gone on an adventure through all these scary tunnels, and then I come back to the main hall, an area where I feel a little bit safe and I can have a moment to rest. I can also run downstairs to the a save point, and be completely relieved that I'm not going to lose my progress. While I'm here, I also want to point out something. You'll see on the way they've designed the West Wing is the outdoor corridors tend to loop around the outside. Jump down a floor, we'll see the same thing. Outside corridor makes it a little bit easier to navigate, and that is the first wing that you'll deal with in this game. So makes it easier to navigate. I've got those windows, I've got those safe things, and I'm periodically funneled into more labyrinthy kind of areas. On the east side, though, you'll see that there's less corridors around the outer edge. They're actually mostly in the middle. If I go up a floor, it's the same thing. You can see this, in fact, this red one is a great example. Really maze-like, confusing direction. There's only a few spots. In fact, I think this whole outside edge has windows on it from memory. And so it's quite easy to get turned around in this part of the map, which is interesting because it is the latter part of the game. I've usually kind of done this area first, and then I'm wandering around in this more confusing area, and learning that is a little bit trickier and sort of given to me in the late game a bit. Which leads me to some conversations about the sewer, so the later part of the game. I'm going to jump to a save game in the sewer in order to demonstrate why I probably didn't like that area as much as I did the police station. Okay, we're down in the sewer, and one of the first things we can probably talk about is the aesthetics. It's obviously a lot less nice, a lot less grandiose. This room is quite large, so it feels a bit safe. There's a cutscene that takes place down in that room, so that gives me a little bit of orientation. But I found myself getting really, really lost in the sewer section of this game. And from hindsight, we can kind of see why that's happening if we look at the map. Here I am here, but if you were to follow these, they're kind of windy, they go in different directions, particularly if we look at the lower floor. We have some of these curved corridors. Curved corridors are interesting because they will turn you around quite quickly. You'll think you're moving left, or in this case west, and as I follow that west, I end up facing north, and you can see why that would be quite tricky. The other thing is that there is no center point like on the upstairs museum or police station. There's no easy way to find the middle of the map again. Particularly if I look here, the starting room is not in the middle, it's off to the side, and so there's no center. The closest thing I found to a center in this particular map was this piece I kept coming back to, but I was often there by accident and couldn't remember which way I needed to go after that. Which is probably intelligent if we think about it. This is the latter half of the game. We want it to be a little bit more confusing, we want it to be a little bit more challenging, possibly feeling more disorienting. One of the ways they've combated that, though, is that the rooms are very unique. So each of these rooms is quite a unique shape, unlike upstairs in the museum, where we have mostly just square rooms. We'll find these rooms with the big water or a bridge across it, or I'll go down this corridor and show you another one. But this idea that I can step into a room and go, oh, that's the room with the water and the bridge, okay. Or I go down into another room. Come down here again and go, oh, that's that room with the center kind of cistern thing and the swampy part next to it. Okay, I know roughly where I am. So you can see, particularly once you're down in this area, how easy it is to get turned around. Oh, that looks a little scary. Quite easy when we look at the map, how easy it would be to get turned around. And then in this particular section, you're jumping between levels quite a lot. And you're often below or above sections that you were in before. Yeah, so just thought I'd point that out. Curved corridors, obviously no external windows, so I can't orientate myself, or no weenies, if you want to use Disney's term. No way for me to quickly find my way around, and I'll often end up backtracking into a room and using its unique shape to recall. Okay, that's that bridge room. I know the safe room's over there, but until I had walked into this room, it's very difficult to remember where I was. Anyway, I hope some of this conversation is just interesting for someone else who is looking at the game design of this. This is not like a series or anything I plan on doing. It was just to kind of get some thoughts out there for the rest of the world in case they were helpful to someone like me. So, cheers.